Hi folks, and welcome back to my channel. I thought today that I would start a bit of a series on my current major build, which is a sports car that I'm building. It's based on the Lotus 7, and they're referred to often as low costs or Super 7. You basically take an engine and drivetrain from some other car, and you build a frame around it and the body. But it's got some really interesting problems, which is what interests me, and I thought I'd show you my build as I progress through it. So today I'm sort of introducing it to you and showing you how far I've gotten. I'm perhaps halfway finished, but there's lots to do still, and I think it might be interesting for people. So this is where I am right now. The frame is pretty much built, but it needs a lot of finishing. It's all spot welded together, and I have to at some point in the not too distant future take it all apart and weld up all the frame finally. It's based on a Miata, on a 1990 Miata. I've used the engine and drivetrain pretty much complete, at least the engineering of it. There's the engine and the transmission, and I'm using the rear end out of the Miata as well. You can see the differential there in the middle and the rear end here. The frame is made out of 1 by 1 by 1/16 or a 60 thou wall square tubing. It's really light, which is of course an advantage in a car like this. This whole car is probably going to weigh, hopefully, I think about 1,300 pounds when it's finished. Empty, of course. It's going to add a bit when I'm in it, but it's super light. And that's what's so great about these things, is that they're so light that they handle incredibly. They're really quick off the line, even with not too much horsepower. They've got. I'm gonna be doing a stock 1990 Miata engine, which is gonna be maybe 120 horsepower, something like that. So it's not a lot, but apparently, with that weight, it weighs half of what the Miata did when it was, sort of half when it was being, when it had the same horsepower, and that thing's pretty good. So that's the idea there. Here's what the front of it looks like, and there's the front suspension. My thinking on this has been that I don't think I'm going to be able to improve on what Mazda did with the Miata. It's known as a super handling car. So I basically copied all the geometry as well as I could from the Miata. So all the A-arms, I fabricated the A-arms. I didn't, the front suspension is going to be hanging out in the wind and be visible. So I didn't want the stamped steel A-arms and all that sort of thing. So I fabricated my own out of DOM tubing, which is super strong, and but all the geometry is duplicated from the Miata. So everything's exactly the same. The steering rack is identical, all the mounting points are the same, the angles, everything's the same, as close as I could get it, because I think that's going to get me the best handling and performance. I used Heim joints on the inside there to mount it to the engine, mount it to the frame, so I can, so there's lots of adjustability there. And I used their Gaz shocks, GAZ, shocks. They come out of England, and then they're fully adjustable for both ride height and shock damping. I built a little bit of adjustability there in the here in the upper shock mount, that I can get a bit more, again, more adjustability there. For the rears, I left the, I took the standard A-arms because it's all going to be hidden underneath the fenders anyway. I didn't want, I could fabricate those as well, but I thought there's no point really. But everything else is the same, except for the, I used the coilovers, the gas coilovers here as well. Again, to get the adjustability and to get the spring rates that I wanted. And that was all calculated to get the right, ride the spring rates and yeah, stiffness and everything else was calculated there. But I'm using all the same, the same brakes, calipers, all that sort of thing. I'll go a bit more high performance on this stuff, but not markedly so. It's a I mean, these brakes were designed by Mazda to stop a 2,500 pound car. Well, I've got a 1,300 pound car now, so I think we should be they should all work fine. As you can see, the frame is all fully triangulated. I tried to get that as much as possible just to make the frame as stiff as I possibly could. And my current, where I'm at the stage of the project now, is mounting the brake pedals. You see the brake pedals here. I bought some Willwood brake pedals, which are normally used for like racing cars, fully adjustable. So we're working through the problems that those face, and I'm sort of mocking up there with the steering wheel where that has to be, the best placement. And so once I figure out that, then I'll of course fabricate the frame to mount all that stuff. So as much as possible, I've used the Mazda, the Miata stuff. That's an aftermarket steering wheel on that, but I want to use all the switches, all the controls as much as possible. They work really well, and I've got enough problems so I don't want to be building new stuff that I don't have to. So here I've taken out the seat and the steering wheel because I want to show you a major decision that I made early in the build that has long repercussions for me, but I think it's still the right way to go. I'll take the transmission tunnel out, and I'll show you the power plant frame. So the way that Mazda decided to engineer this car, the entire drivetrain, the engine, transmission, and then the rear differential there in the middle, right there, with the drive shafts going out to the back wheels. This entire drivetrain is mounted only on 4 points. The front of the car, or at the front, the engine is mounted on the 2 engine mounts. One's there and the other one's there, of course, on the other side. And then the transmission's not mounted to anything. And the back of the power plant power plant is mounted on 2 points here. Here on this, here on 2 wings on either side of the differential. There's one over there and there's one over here. That's the entire drivetrain is mounted on that. And that of course means that the differential has to be connected to the engine and transmission. And the way Mazda did it in the Miata is they have this aluminum power plant frame, they call it. Well, because I was shortening mine and I couldn't find a place to cut that to rejoin it together that would make sense. So I made my own power plant frame out of 1.5 inch angle iron. Sorry, that's 2-inch angle iron. And I made it really strong and used exactly the same mounting points here and underneath here, and on the differential there's two big bolts that run all the way through. Two big bolts, sorry, that run all the way through here to mount that together really strongly. I really want to do that because that's apparently one of the reasons why this thing handles so well. So I thought, I'm going to keep it. I trust their engineering. Other guys that build these things, and there's thousands of them out there that are being built. They use a live axle on the back end. I wanted to use independent because it was just interesting to do it that way. And so there's lots of other ways to do that. This is the way I decided to do it, with a power plant, building my own power plant frame. But one of the things that did is that it really started to restrict me with a bunch of stuff in the middle here. There's really little space to put all the seats in. Everything gets really tight crossways across the car. So I'm pretty sure to get the transmission out that the transmission tunnel has to be removable. So I'm making that removable. So to get the transmission out, you have to, of course, unbolt the power plant frame right there. So that's going to have to come out. And I think with it being so tight, that the transmission tunnel is going to have to come out before the power plant frame comes out, which means that has to come out before the transmission, of course. Anyway, that's the way I'm building it, is that the transmission tunnel is going to be removable. It's going to be bolted through to the frame. Anyway, so that's what the way I've decided to build it, and I think it's going to be. I'm going to get a lot of rigidity out of that, out of this transmission tunnel. It's 16 gauge, I think. Yes, I had it made out of 16 gauge metal, but just mild steel. I had that bent up, and I'm going to bolt that in. And the parking brake, which I wanted to put in again, I used the Miata version of that. I had to make that so that it would come through. So that's removable with the tunnel. Yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at right now. I'm fitting the brakes and the steering wheel. There's the brake pedals, and I'll get into that with you. As you see, it's going to get really tight in here with this exhaust coming down. The exhaust is going to come out the side here and run down the side like the Cobras do, like those side mount exhausts. So I'm going to be tight through there with the master cylinders and stuff. May mount this master cylinders up high. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's sort of where I'm at. I think it's going to be a neat project when it's done, and we'll take you through it. All right, folks, that's what I had for you for today. As always, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Either you like what I'm doing, or you have some other ideas for some of the problems that I'm facing here, because remember, the problems are what keeps life interesting. See you later.